What's up, Rockstars? I was sitting down ready to film another news video. However, Mythic Games continues to do things that I need to report on. So, without further ado, let's discuss their new company. Alright, so if you clicked on this video and you don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to Mythic Games and what that means in crowdfunding, then I will link down to a video where I describe kind of the whole situation more or less. It's been a long ongoing saga. Suffice to say, this has been an issue that has hurt all of crowdfunding, and just when I ever think I'm done finally talking about Mythic Games, something else happens. In this case, there's a new company that you might be interested to know exists. And you can also still give them money. And what the heck's going on? Okay, so let's go ahead and discuss. Alright, so here on Board Game Geek, Bo Diddley66, I believe is his name, said, Leo is very clever. He posted this on the Hell the Last Saga forums, one of the games that they never delivered to us. He founded a new company with the same name as another one, Vesperini Invest, or Vesper Invest, which is not this one, and then it links to the French one that's that, which makes sense because it's a French name, I'm assuming. But this one, no contact email as far as I know, and he links to this. We'll get to that in a moment. This means he and his accomplices, that's their word choice, of course. It's going to be a little heavy-handed here. Not only robbed us, but also just created a new company for helping new companies. Yes, this is not a joke. This is with his brother, and more importantly, our money. Unbelievable is what the post says. Okay, so what is this? So if we go over here, this has been translated. It says the company Vesper Invest was created June 26, 2024, 3 months ago. Its legal form is the LLC. Its field of activity is fund management, and it did not have any employees. Instead, it just has these two managers. And Pascal here, that is Leo, born in May 1967. And then Christian, I'm assuming, is his brother, at least claimed to be there. So you can look and see that he actually has, the Mythic Games as well, right? So same person, same birthday, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. What it tells me here is that Leo may have moved on. We'll discuss this whole thing in a moment here. Okay, so moving on to Darkest Dungeon, right? Where are we at with the crowdfunding thing? Maybe there's some progress here. Maybe there can be some way to get some money to actually deliver this. And I'll talk about maybe the pros to this, not just all of the many cons to this, right? But if we look in here on the comments, it's the same old typically, right? It has been 7 months since the last update. At this point, there's nothing that you can do to make the people mad at you. Not mad, very true. But can you please be responsible enough to keep your customers up to date on something? This is actually a great post. It's one of the few that isn't like super emotional. And instead it's just trying to be like, hey, look, people are already going to be mad at you. They are mad at you no matter what. Could you at least update us? Now, the counter to that is you update them and then they get like death threats and stuff like that, right? Where they literally have to contact the police and whatnot, right? Where people are like wanting to like attack and physically harm these people. And obviously that doesn't really beckon a lot of communication. Now, one could argue you're in that mode and people are acting that way because of the lack of communication. So there's kind of pros and cons. And the quality of the communication matters because I feel like there was a little bit of lying involved here. And we'll discuss that. So let's go ahead and keep moving on. And we'll keep that in mind. We'll keep it in our back pocket. They said in update 131, Wave 2 is guaranteed to be produced and shipped to contributors. So let's go ahead to number 131, right? And right here it says, oh, look at this. Reminders. As you've known for some time, all right, this is back in November 9th of last year, Wave 2 is guaranteed, this is my highlighting and boldness, it was already bold, but I magnified it, to be produced and shipped to contributors who were numerous enough to reach the minimum order quantity, of which obviously the English version was, and therefore should have been delivered. In fact, it's guaranteed to deliver. right? If you go to the updates and go to the last one we ever got in February, a couple months later, hey, we haven't heard from us for a while, but don't worry about it. We started actual production. Here's some of the produced minis. They started making these before the Chinese New Year. We'll come back. And of course, they never came back, right? It's been 7 months now. So that's kind of a bummer, right? It's kind of a bummer. All right, so let's go ahead and keep going here. One of the other sentiments here, too much of my surprise, I can still add stuff and send payment to Mythic Games. WTF. That's true, you can. If you go to mythicgames.net, I'm not going to link to it because I don't want to send you to a place where you're never going to get your product for the money. You can still give them money. I can buy for $45. I can add it to my cart. Look at that. I'm getting Undead Sea, the expansion. Woo-hoo. Yeah, no. Not going to happen, obviously. I've had several of you comment about like buying the 6 Siege on sale on the like Father's Day sale I think they had last and stuff like that, and never receiving their product. Obviously, me and many others still contributed to the second time we were charged for Wave 2 shipping and then never got our product, obviously. So I'm not sending you to spend any more money at Mythic Games. They are not going to send it to you. They're just claiming that they will, right? And it's the same with here, right? They're claiming that they will. I have no faith that they will actually do that, because it would be the exception to the rule if they did, sadly. Let's go on and jump back here. All right, so this is the problem right here. When you ask for communication, when you ask for Mythic Games to talk to you, when you ask for them to speak, you get this kind of stuff. And the problem with it is it's always this earnest desire to appease the reader and not necessarily be factual and be real, right? And it's that lack of real communication that's the problem, not even just a lack of communication. There are companies like Lazy Squire Games, for instance, that do communication, but it's not real communication. It's just there to check a box to appease the few people who believe that there's actually progress being made, right? Like it's just there to throw it up so you can say we haven't left you while not doing any work and leaving them, right? Like that. There's a lot of that kind of stuff, right? What you're getting here is communication that is a lie. A lie because obviously it wasn't guaranteed. Now, the problem is, obviously they were either, one, and I don't think this is necessarily the case, just wanted to take your money and run with it. Two, bad at business, which obviously they were, or they wouldn't be in this situation to begin with. And the bad at business is a hard part because unless management changes, that continues no matter what. Right? No matter how much money you throw at them, they're going to be bad with that money, right? So they obviously were like, oh, this is like in the bag. We got this other money coming in. We got all this stuff. We have these business deals going. All this is going well. We're going to sell our IP. We're going to do all this, and we'll be able to deliver it. And then one of the many things that they think are guaranteed falls apart. The whole thing falls apart. It's on brittle, foundation, just like their company was that got them into this problem in the first place. In other words, the problem with Mythic Games isn't Mythic Games. The problem isn't the funding. The problem isn't the amount of money you gave them. The problem is Leo. The problem is his business partner. The problem is the people running Mythic Games aren't doing a good job at it, never have done a good job of it, and were successful in spite of themselves. And now that spite has caught up, they're unsuccessful because of themselves, right? That's the problem. That's the real crux of it, is they say stuff like guaranteed because as far as they're concerned, they got this all, they got a good plan, they're going to act out the plan. And I'm sure you've seen this in some of your jobs before too, where management has this idea of like what they're going to do, and everybody's like, yeah, that's not going to work out. But they're like, no, we're going to do it. And because you have to commit in business, and I get that. And so they commit and botch it, right? That's what they have here. The problem with that, obviously, is it's on our dollar, right? It's on our money. And the problem is they can move on. We are forever, stuck with this, right? They will continue to run businesses, right? They'll create their own. They'll do their own thing here, right? They will continue to be fine. They will continue to do this, and we have lost all the money. Now, is there any legal thing we could do? You know what? Honestly, I don't know, because I'm obviously no expert, of course. The big thing here would be the wording like this, right? Obviously, nothing is for certain when it comes to crowdfunding and the legalities around it. And for the most part, it benefits the creator, not the backer. Pretty much we have all the risk and none of the benefit, right? And we know that going in. Most of us do. There's two things here. First of all, most of their clientele, especially in Darkest Dungeon, a lot of them, it was their first. Let me know if it was your first crowdfunding game. Let me know if it was your last crowdfunding game. I'd be curious to know if any Mythic Games campaign was like that, because they did a lot of these video game IP things that got people from outside, right? They had like Polygon articles and all this other stuff talking about their games because it involved stuff outside of the board game sphere. So there was a lot of people that just weren't really sure about what they were getting into. And then on top of that, they communicate in ways like this by saying you are guaranteed this in return for this. You give us money, we are guaranteeing you that it will be produced and shipped to contributors. And obviously it wasn't. So the guarantee was the problem. So I think that's really the key is, did they spin this to where they tried to counter the real risk by saying, don't worry about the risk, we got you covered? Because I think there's probably some ground there. Again, I don't know for certain, and I certainly don't know like, French law or anything like that. As far as I can tell, they just like liquidate stuff and move on anyway. But that's the problem. That's the issue here. And this is why people are going to struggle with this, because Leo's going to forever be watched, right? Anything he does in his business life is going to be watched and criticized and hated because he botched this one. Because he now has thousands of people that he failed and hasn't apologized, hasn't fessed up, hasn't done any of this kind of stuff that he really needs to do, I think, on a personal level. And that's kind of the problem here. So, I don't know. It's kind of a bummer. You're going to see that continue. Leo's going to continue to do stuff. He's going to continue to move on. And I think it's about time we do too. I don't think we're going to get our games. I think he's taking the money. I think the company has squandered the money, just like they did when they were running campaigns, just like they did during the contributions, just like they always did. But that's my 2 cents. I'd love to know yours, guys. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Is this something we need to really kind of focus on for the industry, or is it something we need to move on from on the industry? Can the industry move on from this? I'd love your thoughts, both at the creator level and the backer level, of course. Otherwise, there is a lot of cool stuff out there too, so I'll have a news video coming up here soon, as well as, again, a conversation about faking traffic on these crowdfunded sites, on these board game sites, to manipulate sales and stuff like that. There was a company that was claimed to do that. I'll dive into that as well, so stay tuned for that. Plus, many more unboxings, reviews, all that good stuff coming up. Guys, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Take care. Bye, guys.